Welcome to another edition of Northern Heat. I'm Bob Lennon, President of Thermalwood Canada, and host for the show. Our special guest today, Lillian Drapeau. Welcome to the show, Lillian.
Thank you for having me, Bob.
Well, Lillian, we've tried to have this interview for a little bit here, but you're a very busy woman. And one of the reasons why we wanted to do this is that you just recently got awarded the Female Entrepreneur of the Year at the Chaleur Chamber of Commerce.
Yes. Uni, the group that's affiliated with them, had sponsored me apparently. I wasn't aware of it. It was a surprise, but a nice surprise. I'm not the kind of person that enjoys public speaking or public viewing too much there, but it was still a nice honor to have.
Well, listen, I was at the gala. You told me that you didn't feel comfortable in front of cameras and in front of crowds and stuff like that. You gave a speech that inspired me in a bunch of different ways. And one of them was the fact of your demonstration of your passion for what you do. So I guess my first big question to you is that what drives you? Why do you do this? And what really drives you to be able to fuel that passion?
Well, it's the interest I always had in learning, of course, and education. Anything that presented itself that made me curious. I always kind of wanted to learn more about it. But it's also the fact that it makes me happy. It just pleases me to know that there's so many new things out there, so many new things that you learn, and then you can offer to others. You can transfer that information to others. You can pass it on to, your knowledge can be passed on in so many other ways when you continue learning. It was always an interest, and it was always it always kept me happy for some reason. I don't know. It just pleased me.
Yeah. But it's also, and we didn't talk about this, but you're the owner of the Southern Comfort Villa in South Bathurst. And so, I'm sure when you talk about learning, a lot of the people that you work with, and there's a lot of seniors there, they must have some interesting stories.
Oh, yes. So many, so many come through the doors. It's just entertaining on a personal level because their stories are, I have a lady that's going to be 102. So her stories are like, you can't imagine the life they lived in those days. And it's comparable to today. You would like to kind of showcase those stories in some way for others to see, because it's incredible the amount of knowledge and the amount of interest in still what goes on today with these individuals. They've worked hard all their lives. They never had access to what we have access to today, and still thrived and still enjoyed life. So all of their stories are entertaining and fun to listen to, and just interesting.
But there's also stuff there, I'm sure, that because you weren't an entrepreneur all your life, you also, like me, started, later on after careers. But in your case, you haven't even stopped your first career. You're still working as a nurse on a part-time or casual basis at the hospital. But it's what you can learn from these people in business too that is also good, right?
Oh yes, the connection I find working still in nursing at the hospital helps me with the facility. The education is like you can't much of it you can't read in a book or find in a book. The hands-on experience and the hands-on knowledge you get to share, and you bring that communication back to work, and it certainly gives you that advantage over not being out there as much. If some individuals don't get to have access to that information or that knowledge, it can hold you back to some degree.
Yeah.
But I'm very fortunate where it's worked out well for me, having kind of both of the worlds here combined.
So let's talk a little bit about the future. You've been involved with the Southern Comfort Villa for a number of years now, and you became the owner how long ago?
Well, I started with a partnership, but it lasted about 3 years, and then I bought out my partner. It was based on, I found, because if you're in an industry, if you get into a partnership with someone in something that's passionate, it helps if you're both kind of on the same
Hmm.
page, and that you're both in the same, industry. And it wasn't the fact for us, so we both, went our separate ways. And I bought out my partner, so I was 100% partner, 100% owner, as of 3.5 years ago.
Okay. So now you're growing a business, and like you said, it's your passion. It's the stuff that you're doing. So what's some of your vision for the future? Where do you want to go?
My vision really right now is to see if there's any way we can expand or show the government that um, we can offer so much more to the community. We can offer so much to help our hospitals, and in ways where they probably don't see us in that sense yet. One of the reasons being right now in the hospitals there are individuals that are considered ALC individuals,
Yeah.
meaning they're occupying a bed in a hospital, not necessarily for like they're just waiting for placement. They don't need the medical resources that the hospital has to offer an individual who would require elective surgery or for some other reason be admitted to the hospital in that bed for other reasons. And we, as a facility, I know I have a level 2 facility. There are different levels of care. There's 3G, there's 3B, there's 3, there's level 2 like myself. Um, we could offer another level of care, meaning we could offer placements for those individuals where we could free up those beds if the government would work together with us, study our resources, see if we fit the ability to care for these individuals with resources and assistance from them. Um, it's a win-win on both sides, but until we get to that point, we're kind of like caught. It's really kind of
So what are the real big challenges to be able to get through that barrier?
our association, the New Brunswick Special Care Home Association, have a wonderful group of individuals, directors group. Jan Seeley, Ken McGeorge, a number of others are working with the government directly now to to show them what we can offer. Um, who they're meeting with, I'm not sure, but I know that they've made a lot of progress. I think because of the state that we're in, the crisis that we're in, that we're heading in, it's not new. We knew about this coming many, many, many years ago. I've kept articles from years ago that that stated we were headed in a direction where healthcare needed to be addressed. She's and well, Jan herself and Ken have been showing, at what point we're at that can really lead to a successful partnership with the government and working with the hospitals and them and ourselves and offering this level of care will certainly uh, help not only the individual that's sitting in a hospital bed, but the doctors that we're trying to keep here that are looking for, that have 2-year waiting lists. And because there's no beds available, they can't really get their surgeries done. There's a backlog. We end up with different.
It's like a big snowball, right? And it's a one starts in one
Oh,
place, it just grows, and you see it,
yeah.
not just in the world that you're in, but you look at all the places are looking for people to work. They're looking for, there's backlogs behind everything. There's a whole pile of things, and so there's a whole pile of things that are kind of, piling up. And that crisis that you talked about is that bubble of the baby boomers that are kind of moving on to an older age and at the same time are emptying out the workforce, emptying out all the businesses and everything else. So, you know, it is a challenge and thank you for sharing that it's just a challenge in your world too, just as much as it is in the business world.
Well, that's it. Whenever you can, yeah, I mean, our seniors for me is of course my main passion. Our seniors have contributed so much to our community. The reason we have a community is because of the seniors that helped it grow
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
bring it to where it is today. Uh, we owe them, some support. We owe them uh, the assistance they need to continue living the life that they have left to live. Um, if a senior comes into our facility today, um, it's like they will be looked at to see what kind of revenue they bring in monthly. If they have Canada Pension, old age, and a guaranteed income supplement, well, social development, who oversees, the the admissions we
Hmm.
receive, look at what they bring in. So if you bring in a certain amount and it doesn't reach the amount of cost of stay, you're allowed to keep $135. And then social development will support the rest, which usually is not much, is less than what the resident is going to contribute. So what do you do with $135 in a month? That's
Not with the
four
cost of living.
dollars and 44 cents a day.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it? You have to pay for all your medication because social development doesn't, Medicare doesn't cover everything. So you're responsible to pay for your medication. If you want to get your hair done, if you need special foot care, but you're not covered, for some reason, you have to pay for that. You have any little treats you want to treat yourself, it's all on $4.44 a day when you end up in a facility. So,
Yeah.
we it's unfair. I find that's been the 135 has been the amount for, I don't know, the last 20 some years or longer, or 30. It hasn't gone up for them. Um, it's things like that I find are unfair. So with my education and with my experience through accounting and secretarial work and management work, I've I've educated myself in accounting, where I'll help them with certain areas of guidance, as opposed to the disability tax credit. I usually put a note every tax time. Don't forget, if your parents are still paying taxes, or if they're in a facility, or you know apply for the disability tax credit, they're probably paying taxes for
Yeah.
that they really don't have to. I found I've done forms for them. It's not a complicated form, so things like that. I find I find the joy in helping them find sources that they're entitled to, that they didn't know they were aware of before.
Well, that's interesting because not every home or owner of homes would offer those kind of things, but the key thing that you've talked about in this interview is the fact that you've got this feeling that we owe our seniors for everything that's there, and so just that in itself, and having that thought process of owing to that generation of people it's my hat's off to you for doing that. And I see why you become a female entrepreneur of the year, especially in that area. Congratulations again on that. I wish you the best going forward. And to our listeners out there, if there's anybody that Lillian has just talked to us about some of the challenges, and if there are anything that you think that you can help, get a hold of us, and we'll direct you. We'll put you together and see what we can do. So again, thank you very much for coming on the show today. Really appreciate it, and thanks for sharing a little bit of your story with us. And hopefully you inspire others to do the same as what you're doing.
I don't think, any more joy than putting a smile on the face of our seniors, that we owe our community, our what we have today too. Yeah.
Well, there we have it. Another Northern Heat, another episode for this week, the place you come to listen to the stories that haven't been discovered yet.